This is an unpaired evidence question. These are unusual. There's only usually like 1 or 2 of them on a test, and it doesn't change things that much as far as how we answer it. We're still going to need to go to all these line references, but especially for this question, it's important that we follow instructions. And so in this case, the instructions are very clear. We need to best support the view of the skeptics. And so we need to go to line 20, which is very far out of the range of all these other lines, and we need to see what the skeptics think. If we don't dumb summarize what they think, we're not going to get this question right. So here's the break, right? So I kind of broke the passage in half here, because we don't need all of it. We should just be able to go where they tell us, and they talk about the skeptics. So let's read right around there. According to one theory, the wisdom of the crowd still holds. Measuring the aggregate of people's opinions produces a stable, reliable value. Skeptics, however, argue that people's opinions are easily swayed by those of others. So nudging a crowd early on by presenting contrary opinions, for example, exposing them to some very good or very bad attitudes, will steer the crowd in a different direction. So the crowd is swayed by others. So that's our view here. Crowd swayed by others. And yeah, you should write it down, right? Get it out there. It doesn't need to be a complicated summary. That's not what we're doing here. This is what I would call a dumb summary. We are not even using correct grammar and sentences. We are just trying to, as simply as possible, get the ideas on the page. Now, we have to go to each of these line references and make sure, or see which one is supporting this view that people are easily swayed. So we have a clear sense of what we're looking for, right? That's the key with these passages, is don't just read stuff. Read with purpose. You want to know what you're looking for when you're reading. If you go in with just like a blank, idea in your mind, then yeah, you're not going to understand what you're reading because it'll just sound like gibberish. You need to have an idea of what you're looking for. So watch, 55 to 58, that's right here. Comments that received fake positive votes from the researchers were 32% more likely to receive more positive votes compared with a control, the team reports. Okay, so fake positive votes, more likely to receive more positive votes. This is a lot of science here, but it's talking about people being swayed. Or at least I think it is. It's all science-y, but it seems like people are being influenced by these fake votes. So that is enough for me to leave this choice in. Let's see if we can get something that's better and just more on point of what I wanted to say. 58 to 60. That's here. And those comments were no more likely than the control to be downvoted by the next viewer to see them. So if something is similar to a control, that means that there's no influence, right? So the control is kind of what we use in an experiment to make sure that we kind of are measuring things correctly. It's basically like the normal situation. And then our experiment is changing something to see how the change affects the results, the situation. And so if the control and the experiment are the same, then there was the thing that we changed didn't influence the experiment in any way. It didn't matter, right? And so that's what this is saying. This is a lot of science-y terms. We need to get comfortable with words like control. And so if there's no difference between the experiment group and the control group, then this thing didn't matter. So people were not swayed by the down votes. So that gets rid of choice B. 63 to 65. That's right here. 63 to 65. The ratings of comments that got a fake downvote were usually negated by an upvote by the next user to see them. So that doesn't seem like people are swayed either, because if someone is voting something down, then you would expect the next person to vote it down too, but someone else is voting it up. So the person's not being influenced, right? The person is not being influenced by the down vote. They're still voting it up. So this is not saying the same thing. And then 76 to 79, that's right here. He points out that the category of the news items in the experiment had a strong effect on how much people could be manipulated. So it's saying that people could be manipulated, and that's good, that's what we want, but this isn't really supporting that idea of the question, because it's not explaining the manipulation. It's saying that the amount of manipulation varied depending upon the category of the news, but it's not saying like how much they were influenced or how much they were swayed. In fact, it kind of implies that some people weren't influenced at all. And so this is an okay choice, but A is the best support for what the skeptics are saying. The other reason it's the best support is that it's better than D, is that D is more kind of just saying what the skeptics think, but we're being asked to support the skeptic's point of view. So we really want something that sounds like evidence, that actually is more like data that shows the swaying. So D is kind of like another maybe restatement of what the skeptics are kind of saying, but we really want something that adds on to what the skeptics are saying. And this is why little words in the questions sometimes matter a lot. We really need to pay attention to our instructions, because I would say that if it said a different word besides support, D would be a lot more tempting of an answer. So we need to pay attention to those things. They're asking us to get like data and evidence and statistics to support this point of view. And choice A definitely does that. It sounds like statistics, and if you go back to it, look, comments that received fake positive views from the research, so fake positives, were 32% more likely to receive more positive votes compared with the control. So there's a difference between the experiment and the control. And that shows us that there's an influence of these fake positive votes. And that's exactly what the skeptics were saying, is that people are persuadable, swayable, influenceable. I think those are not the right words, but you get what I mean. So hopefully this helped. This is absolutely confusing. The language here is really, really dense. But notice that I'm not diving too deeply into it. I'm looking for specific stuff about people being swayed. And that's really the only thing I cared about. I didn't dive deeper than I had to. And that's the advantage of a dumb summary, is we try to keep it surface level, very simple. So that way we don't waste a lot of time reading and rereading and rereading when things are confusing. We just trust that we understood it enough to see if the ideas that we're looking for are there. And for choice A, they're definitely there. Whether we understood everything or not, that's okay.